Hey everybody, this is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com. We're back with this week's new comic book reviews. So it's kind of a smaller week, not bad, a fair amount of stuff. Just as a reminder, if you live in the LA or San Diego area, this weekend is San Diego Comic Fest. I will be there. I will be there Saturday and Sunday. Will not be there Friday, and I will also be on a panel on Saturday. Former Eisner judges. So that's going to be really interesting. So I will film that. I will film many other things. There's going to be some really great. There's a lot of great guests. Dustin Nguyen's going to be there. Scott Shaw, Peter David, and lots of others. It's a really good show. If you live in the area, it's well worth checking out. If you can make it down for like at least a day, it's definitely well worth checking out. It's very small and intimate convention, but lots of great panels and everything. So check that out, and I'll have videos of that hopefully up soon next week. So let's get going with the comic reviews. First up, we have The Secret History of the War on Weeds one shot. Written by Gary Dugan and Brian Posh, with art by Scott Koblish. So what this is it takes history of like the 80s period with Nancy Reagan on the war on drugs, and then it basically tells a satire story of set in that period. So it's set in that period, but then it's all just like, well, this is like maybe what happened or what could have happened. So what it is the government, so Nancy's like, oh, the numbers are down. We need to kind of create some sort of story to get our points up. So what she says, hey, how about we, start a war on drugs? And so they get this ex Marine Scotch McTiernan to go to this pot farm and destroy all the pot, And so what it is they end up capturing him, and then they get him hooked on pot, and so he becomes part of the community. And so of course, that doesn't go over well with Nancy and so then they send in yet another team of like mercenaries hired by the government to take him out, and then chaos ensues. So in a lot of ways, it's definitely it's a huge satire of like 80s movies, 80s comics, in 90s and stuff like that. So it's also kind of taking humorous look back at how crazy that time was with the war on drugs, and now the fact that pot's legal in a lot of states. So that's the basic premise there, and I have to give Dugan and Posh that it really, they pull off the satire in the book. It's a lot of fun. I wouldn't say that it necessarily overwhelmed me, but I did enjoy it while I was reading it, and it had a lot of sharp dialogue and stuff. And once again, it's satire, and you just don't see a lot of satire comics really being done much in today's market. And then Koblish's artwork is really nice. He really captures that kind of feeling of like the 80s movies and stuff like that. Like McTiernan is like this really, he's basically kind of an Arnold Schwarzenegger type character, and it's just like crazy fun. And like I said, it didn't necessarily overwhelm me, but I did enjoy it for what it was. It had a nice story with really nice artwork, and it's satire. And like I said, we just don't get many of those anymore. So I think if it's something that interests you, I think it's worth checking out. Next up, we have Hulk #6, written by Donny Cates, with artwork by Ryan Otley. So this finishes off the first story arc to set things up. So you have the fake Betty has taken control of the Hulk kaiju, and Bruce has been captured by General Ross, and so the fake Betty amps up the Hulk kaiju to 9, and is gonna and eventually kind of releases this Titan out of it. So General Ross is like, oh, we'll just drop a bomb on it, forget that we're going to destroy like 3 cities, no big deal, we just need to destroy him. So Banner ends up figuring out how to like diffuse or really to contain the explosion, and that's kind of what this issue. So it's also a setup for there's going to be a crossover with Thor and Hulk, starting with the special, and then going into Thor, and then going into Hulk. So that's what this issue. So it kind of finishes off this first story arc, but then it's really setting up, for future events, with the crossover, and then with the events post this. So it's been really interesting. I have to give Cates that he really was thinking outside of the box on this first storyline, which is quite interesting, because I think the Hulk is a really good character, but I think he's also kind of hard to write for. So I think Cates has really done an interesting job of setting this up, and we'll kind of see where it goes with the crossover, and then from the ramifications outside of this story and the crossover. The big win has really been Ryan Ottley's artwork. It's just really been fabulous, and I know he's not doing the crossover with Thor, but hopefully he'll come back. If not, we'll kind of see how the art goes from here. But overall, it's been a solid, I think, first story arc for the book, which I think is really, it's off to a good start. Next up, we have Canceled #1, written by David A. Byrne, with artwork by Pablouk Man, Renan Balmonte, Med Manga, and Nick Justice. So what this is there's a guy who does this kid show. He reads to kids. It's set in say the 50s or whatever, and they're going to cancel his show, and they're going to put like a clown show on in its place. So, but they tell him that he's basically being fired before his last show. So he does his last show. He kind of flips out on the show. Then he's going to go out and, destroy the antenna because, to get his revenge, and he ends up getting electrocuted. So basically what it is his, I guess you could say, spirit or whatever inhabits, what doesn't really inhabit the clown, but like becomes part of the show. And so what it is when the kids are watching the show, his spirit basically possesses kids to kill their parents. So that's kind of the setup. But what you learn is that it's really people in a movie theater watching this movie. And so then, this movie has been done, and then it goes on to where people watch the movie, and then the kids get possessed, and it kind of goes on and on. And it was okay. I think the really interesting thing is so you have different artists doing different parts. So there's the one artist that does like the kids show, he does that part, and then there's a couple, then the three other artists do different takes, like the people at the movie theater, the kids at home, and things like that. The artwork is kind of like the artist, once again, I don't know which artist did who, but I would have to assume that Pablouk Man did the first part, because he's credited first. And the artwork for the 50s television series is really good. The other art's kind of a mixed bag. It's not bad, it's just kind of mixed. I think it was okay. I think the ultimate problem was that the payoff of this, oh well, it's possessed. It's kind of like you've been there and done that. It's kind of like it really suffers from like a horror trope, like you've seen it before. It's not terrible. It's just that it really, like, the payoff was just like, okay, I get it, but kids watch the show back then, people today kids watch the show today, they start killing their parents, and it ultimately, there's not like the huge payoff. And I think that's kind of where it just like kind of falls apart, in the sense of good idea doesn't ultimately go anywhere, and that's really where it kind of lands. Next up, we have The Trial of the Amazons, Wonder Girl #2, written by Joelle Jones, with artwork by Joelle Jones and Adriana Mello. So this is the next to last chapter of The Trial of the Amazons. This is also, sadly, the last issue of Wonder Girl by Joelle Jones, which has been really fabulous. And I think it really is kind of sad that it ultimately really has an end. Her story is just not done. And it was, and then it was like going along, and then there was The Trial of the Amazons, and then it just doesn't really end, because it's just another part of the trial of the Amazon. So at least this issue we do find who killed or who assassinated Hippolyta. I will not say, but ultimately the trial of the Amazons, and unless some miracle happens in the next special, it has been really sadly disappointing. I mean, the Wonder Girl issues have been great because I love Flora, and I love what Joelle has done with the character and everything, but it really has just been drawn out and just hasn't really had any sort of hook that I think a good crossover should, or an event should have. And it's kind of a shame because there's some really talented, both writers and artists doing this. I just think that it just seems like maybe this was a story by committee. I don't know, but all I can say is I'm just more sad that Wonder Girl is being canceled. That's really what it comes down to. This is really kind of the last hurrah for Joelle Jones. And hopefully, maybe, fingers crossed, someday that they'll maybe relaunch it and she'll come back and do it. But ultimately, it's been kind of disappointing. I'll definitely read Trial of the Amazons Part 2 that comes out either next week or the week after that. And we'll see if maybe they can pull it off, but I don't really see that happening. Next up, we have Dark Beach #1. Written by Michael J. Ruiz-Unger with artwork by Sebastian Priz. So what this is the sun has went out. So so what it is Earth has artificial sun that they've created, and so there's this cult of people who worship the old sun. And so you also then, what really the main part of the story is, you kind of have this murder mystery. So you have this detective that goes to this murder scene and discovers these things and kind of follows the trail. And then he discovers this sun cult. And ultimately, I think there's some interesting, Ruiz-Unger, I think there's some interesting ideas here. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite pan out with the script. And what makes matters even worse for this is, unfortunately, the artwork is just not very good. It's really, it's very stiff. It's just kind of bland. It sadly just doesn't look good. And once again, I never relish in saying this with the artwork or even the writing, where it's just this book is just sadly just not very good. Like I said, it's a shame because I think there's some good ideas there, but the story never quite really takes off in this first issue. And I get you don't want to give everything away, but ultimately I just didn't feel like I cared enough about anybody. And then with the really disappointing artwork, it's a real washout. So this was definitely a skip this week. Next up, we have World's Finest #2, written by Mark Waid with artwork by Dan Mora. So I really enjoyed the first issue, and so not only is it Superman and Batman, but the Doom Patrol are in this issue. I love the Doom Patrol. I'm so glad that Mark Waid has brought them back. I mean, Mark Waid, I'm really hoping he really brings all sorts of other DC characters into this book, which he kind of has, because this issue we see Felix Faust, as a villain. Supergirl shows up. There's a really great crossover or there's some great banter between Supergirl and Robin that's really fun. But so what it is the Doom Patrol actually is able to cure Superman of the rabid kryptonite injection from Metallo from the first issue. And so, but then they find out through the Doom Patrol with the chief that there is this basically there's this demon that was ultimately not killed, but put away, like, in hibernation sort of thing, and he's gotten out. So that's what's going on with this whole thing, and that's really the setup that Waid is giving us here. And honestly, what makes this book is just fun, and that's what I love when Mark Waid does a book and he has fun, because not only is he having fun, it really permeates the readers having fun, and there's just so much just joy in reading this. And then you have Dan Mora's artwork, which is absolutely just fabulous. And it's just, it's this is one of those books that, it's not gonna, it's not like brilliant writing and stuff like that. It's not, like gonna win awards and things like that, but damn if it isn't fun. And that's what makes it so good. And a lot of times having a book that's fun is not a bad thing, and this one is just really great. It's a fun story with really great artwork. I really, really recommend it if you just want to have fun with a book. Next up, we have Captain America #0, written by Tochi Onobuchi, Jackson Lansing, and Colin Kelly, with artwork by Mattia D. Lewis. So what this is so you have Falcon and so you have Steve Rogers, and then the Falcon are both Captain Americas. And so that's what this is. And so what this first story is basically they're going after this villain who's, once again, I'm going to take over the world. I have this giant rocket that, and so that's the basic premise of the story. So the two Captain Americas work together to foil the villain. And that's the basic story. And it's fine and everything, but ultimately it's just very standard superhero comics. And once again, it's fine for what it is, but it's one of those where there's really not much meat on the bone. I mean, it's a fine read and you'll enjoy it while you're reading it, but ultimately in the end, it's pretty forgettable. The not bad. It's just really not. It doesn't excel at much of anything beyond just being a standard superhero book. The one really, the artwork by D. Lewis is really, really nice. It has kind of a painted look to it. It's really nice. And it kind of has a little bit of an Alex Ross feel to it in that sense because of the painted look. It really is a beautiful book. I mean, if you're at your comic shop, definitely at least look at it in that respect, because it really is a pretty book. But ultimately, it's not bad. It's just not great. It's okay. And I think at this point, with superhero books, you've really got to bring more to the table than just a very standard fare. And once again, that's what this is. Next up, we have Nice House on the Lake #8, written by James Tynion IV, with artwork by Alvarado Martinez Bueno. So now we're at the 8th part. So we're starting, the guest of Walter are starting to kind of get a little bit stir crazy in the sense of, once again, everything they need, they just ask for food, whatever, if they want to build like a house or build like a stable or whatever they want, Walter will make happen. But ultimately, especially Sarah is really questioning what Walter's motives are. And he's basically theoretically he's like an alien, and the aliens have said they want to destroy Earth, but he has decided to have this set of people survive the apocalypse. So ultimately, they're trying, especially Sarah's like trying to come to terms with like, why did you pick us, and why were there people that you met through your life before this happened and you didn't choose them? So it's really kind of interesting. And once again, it's kind of like you're starting to see like the puzzle is still there, but there's still key pieces missing from that puzzle. And that's what's been really interesting, is that Tynion is doing a lot of the story element on purpose to like, he's giving you stuff but not quite enough, but it's a lot of it's there. So like when you actually see I'm sure there's like kind of the twist or whatever that's going to come. When that happens, a lot of the pieces of the puzzle, a lot of things are going to click into place. You're going to go, oh, well, that makes sense, or that's why that happened, and that's why that happened. This is going to be one of those books that not only is great to read now, But when it's collected in the end, it's going to be really amazing to go back and reread this, because it has been really an amazing book so far. And Martinez Bueno's artwork is just, he continues, just, this book is gorgeous, and the artwork really captures like the mood and the feeling of like the story and the characters. It's really, really good. I'm really enjoying this book. It's always been a must buy, and I can't wait to see where they take it in the end. Next up, we have the Collector Unit 731, number 1, written by Will Conrad and Rod Montero, with artwork by Will Conrad. So the basic premise of the story is, there's two American businessmen who are in Japan during World War II, or kind of just as Japan's getting into World War II, and they're taken to this concentration camp where they're doing experiments. It's basically, they're doing experiments because of the Japanese are trying to develop biological warfare. So that's the basic premise. So what it is they have this group of people, of men, and they split them off in half, and half of them are going to get the virus, and the other half are going to get like a placebo and not really get anything, and kind of see how it affects, whether the placebo affects them mentally, how people, like, if you think, oh well, here's like, yeah, you're feeling tired or whatever, but you're not really, it's like giving somebody a sugar pill for like a headache, and then the headache clears up because they think they make the headache clear up. So that's kind of the basic premise here. I think there's some interesting ideas. I just don't know, excuse me, what really Conrad and Montero are heading for here. I think it's like, it's interesting, and I would be curious to kind of read the second issue. I like the idea, but I'm not sure. There wasn't a really huge compelling reason to kind of come back for a second issue. That's kind of where I struggle with the book. Not that it's bad, but it doesn't. It's like, okay, that's nice, but what's your story you're trying to tell? Because I didn't really get that. I will say, and Conrad's artwork's really is nice in the book. It's a solid looking book, but I don't know that it's enough to, like, for me to care to come back. That's kind of where I struggle with the book. Next up, we have Nightwing 91, written by Tom Taylor, with artwork by Geraldo Borges. So this, so what it is the Kingpin that in Bloodhaven has put out a price on Dick Grayson's head. So Wally has come to help, try to figure out who's behind all this and everything. So they end up, so there's like this assassination network, and that's what they've come across. So they end up going to like South America, and that's where the main, the guy behind the assassination, it's kind of like Spectre in the James Bond film, but they like go to find the Blofeld. And so that's the basic premise. So that's what's interesting is it kind of, what I love that Taylor's done here is really capture that spirit of them. They've known each other since they were kids, and they really care for each other, and Wally has really kind of giving him great advice and everything. And it's really interesting because there's like the superhero aspect of the story, the getting villains and all that kind of stuff. But what really makes this story really tick in this particular issue is really the camaraderie of what Dick and Wally have had over the years, and how they're just like their friendship is so good together, and I really love that Taylor has really captured that, and Borges' artwork is nice. I mean, we all miss Bruno Redondo, but Borges actually does a nice job. It's a nice looking book. It's not Bruno, but it's good solid art. Excuse me, it's good solid artwork, and that's it's fine. And once again, I love this book. It's just really it's I love the fact that Taylor is really developing Dick as a character. Once again, I always say really work on the character that they are. The superhero stuff will fall into place very easily as long as you do that. And that's what this does here. And finally, this week we have Catwoman Lonely City #3, written and drawn by Cliff Chiang. So basically, Selina is trying to get into the Batcave. But yet you have Two-Face, who's the mayor, and so basically you kind of have him. He's basically strong arming the city. It's more of a dictatorship. It's becoming much more of a dictatorship. So Selena and her team, they ultimately are trying to figure out these pieces of the puzzle that Bruce has kind of left there. And so they end up going for a heist of this museum piece. It's like a head. And so they do get away, but sadly, one of their teammates does sacrifice themselves. And I really have to admit, I will not say who and what, but it was really an emotional scene. And I really have to give Chang that really was very touching. And I think it really goes back to how he's really developed these characters, that they're older and everything, and it was really great. And so it's just I think it's very interesting because once again, Selena's still Selena, Ivy is still Ivy, Killer Croc is still Killer Croc, but the way he's developed these characters to be older and kind of wiser and just more battle torn in some respects. And it's really quite fascinating. I mean, I love Catwoman and everything, but the way that he's telling this story, so you not only have the present, but you have these flashbacks of the past with her and Bruce, with Selena and Bruce, and it's really just amazing. And then the story is just freaking brilliant. I don't know how else to say it. This book is absolutely amazing, and then his artwork is just it's just beautiful. It kind of has a very kind of Art Deco-y style. It's really, really good. I mean, these Black Label books have been really almost fantastic, almost all of them, and this one is really just the cream of the crop. This is absolutely fascinating, and it just blows me away how every issue just keeps getting better and better, and I cannot wait to see where he takes this. So this is a must buy if you haven't bought it and you really want to read it. I mean, you might try to find the first couple issues, but if not, when it comes out in the collection, this is a must buy book. This was one of the best things I read this week. And that's going to do it, folks. Just once again, a reminder that Comic Fest, San Diego Comic Fest is this weekend. I will be there on Saturday and Sunday. I will be on a panel, the Eisner Judges panel, Saturday at noon. So if you go, then definitely stop by that. There's going to be a Rocketeer panel. Lots of stuff. They're celebrating Gene Roddenberry's anniversary with like Star Trek. Peter David's going to be there, obviously talking about Star Trek. I'm sure he'll talk about the Hulk too. Very excited to hear what he has to say about his illustrious career. So definitely check that out if you are in the LA or San Diego area. It's a really good con. This will be my third year going, and I really enjoy this convention. As always, public service announcement. I buy all my comics at Pulp Fiction Comics, Long Beach, California. Ryan runs a great store. Annie and Eduardo are fantastic. Wendy's been helping out. Derek easily does he helps do the unboxing videos, handles a lot of their social media, and it's really a great store, great comic store. They offer wonderful, really great pull service, offer trades and graphic novels at 30% off every day. It's a really good store. And if you live more in the LA area, there is a sister store, same name, different owner, Pulp Fiction Culver City. Chris and her team once again run a great store, same deals. Really, and once again, I always say please support your local comic shop. It's very important. to really support them and help them out. Um, and as always, we end our show with "Be kind." There is a lot of stuff going on in the world, and I know it's tough all around on many different levels. But being kind is really it's good for your soul. It's good for other people's souls. It's good to really just be kind to everyone. And that's going to do it. Take care of yourselves. This is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and please share the video. And as always, comments are welcome. And just take care of yourselves out there and be kind. We'll see you again next week. Take care. Bye bye.